When Laura told me, "Don't expect affection," I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it felt so absurd coming from the woman I once thought I couldn't live without. For years, I believed that love was something that could survive anything: exhaustion, arguments, even neglect. But that night, standing in our kitchen under the dull hum of the refrigerator, I realized love can die long before a marriage does. We'd been together for 11 years, married for 9. Somewhere between mortgage payments, her late night scrolling, and my quiet dinners alone, something had gone missing. The warmth, the touch, the effort. It started subtly. She'd pull away when I tried to kiss her. She'd claim she was tired whenever I reached for her hand in bed. The first few times I told myself it was stress, work, hormones, anything but disinterest. But excuses can only stretch so far before they snap. The breaking point came after another night of silence. I was doing the dishes when she walked in, grabbed a bottle of water, and said without even looking at me, "You should stop expecting affection from me. I don't feel it anymore." She said it like she was canceling a subscription. Cold, efficient, final. For a few seconds, I didn't respond. I just kept washing the same plate over and over until I realized my hands were trembling. Then I turned off the tap, looked at her, and said quietly, "Then don't expect protection or money." Her head snapped toward me like I'd spoken another language. "Excuse me?" she said, half laughing, half offended. "You heard me," I replied. "If affection is optional, then so are the things I provide. You don't get to rewrite the rules mid-game and expect me to keep playing by the old ones." That's when the color drained from her face. Laura wasn't used to hearing no. For years, I'd been the one who smoothed over arguments, paid bills without complaint, handled repairs, and filled the silence with apologies I didn't owe. She had grown comfortable in a marriage where my effort was constant and hers was conditional. "You're being childish," she said, crossing her arms. "No," I said. "I'm being fair." She scoffed and stormed off, muttering something about sleeping in the guest room. I didn't stop her. That night, the bed felt lighter than it had in months. Over the next few days, I followed through on what I said. I stopped transferring money to her personal account. I canceled the credit card she used for shopping. I changed the Wi-Fi password, not out of spite, but to make a point. You can't withdraw affection and still expect support. The first time she noticed was at a coffee shop. She called me from the counter, embarrassed. "My card isn't working," she said sharply. "I know," I replied calmly. "Maybe it's tired. You should stop expecting it to perform." There was a pause, then the line went dead. By the time she got home, I was in the living room, reading. She threw her purse on the couch and glared at me. "What are you doing? This is petty." "No, Laura," I said, closing my book. "This is perspective." For years, I gave her everything without realizing I was teaching her that I'd tolerate anything. But love doesn't survive in one-way traffic. It withers when it's taken for granted. She stood there, silent, waiting for me to cave like I always did. But I didn't. For the first time in our marriage, the silence didn't scare me. It empowered me. The next morning, she barely spoke to me. She brewed her coffee, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. I sat across the table, watching her act indifferent, but the tremor in her hand gave her away. Eventually, she said, "You really think cutting me off financially is going to fix this?" "No," I said calmly. "I think it'll make things clear." "Clear?" she snapped. "What's clear is that you're punishing me for being honest." "Honest would have been telling me years ago that you stopped caring," I replied. "Not waiting until you thought I'd never walk away." Her jaw tightened. "You wouldn't survive a week without me." That made me smile, not out of arrogance but realization. "Laura," I said, "I've been surviving with you, not because of you." She didn't respond. She just grabbed her keys and slammed the door behind her. For the rest of the week, we barely crossed paths. I worked, cooked for myself, did my laundry, and slept soundly. The quiet no longer felt like a punishment. It felt like peace. But on Friday evening, something shifted. I came home to find her sitting on the couch, the lights dimmed, her eyes red. For a second, I thought she'd been drinking. Then I noticed the unpaid bills spread across the table. Her phone, her gym membership, even her hair salon subscription she'd signed up for on autopay. "I didn't realize how much you handled," she said quietly. "I guess I took it for granted." I leaned against the wall, studying her. "It wasn't about the money, Laura. It was about effort. You stopped trying, in every way that mattered." She looked down, twisting the ring on her finger. "I don't know when I started resenting you," she said. "Maybe when I felt trapped in routine. You became predictable, safe. And I confused that with boring." I stayed silent, letting her words hang there. For years, I would have jumped in to defend myself, to negotiate, to fix things. But this time, I wanted her to hear her own voice echo back. She looked up again. "You've changed," she said softly. "No," I said. "I just stopped apologizing for being the only one who cared." That hit her harder than I expected. She started crying, real tears this time. Not frustration or manipulation, but regret. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "I know," I said. "You just stopped meaning to love me." We sat in silence for a long time. The clock ticked between us like a heartbeat slowing down. Finally, she said, "So what now?" I sighed. "Now, you decide if affection is still something you don't expect, because I've learned not to offer it where it's unwanted." She nodded slowly, wiping her face. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" I gave a faint smile. "I was serious about us long before you stopped being." The next few days were quiet again, but it wasn't the heavy silence of resentment anymore. It was the stillness that comes before a storm, or before healing. A week later, she approached me while I was making coffee. Her tone was softer, almost uncertain. "Would you want to talk?" I turned to her. "About what?" "About starting over," she said. "No guarantees, just effort." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to protect myself, to stay in the safety of my own newfound boundaries. But another part, the part that had loved her for years, wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, she finally understood. So I said, "If we start over, it's with honesty. Affection isn't something to ration out like currency. It's a choice every day." She nodded, tears forming again. "I get it now." Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. But for the first time in a long time, I felt equal in my own marriage. As I handed her a cup of coffee, I said quietly, "Here's to expectations, the fair kind." She gave a small, hesitant smile, and for a fleeting second, I saw the woman I once fell in love with. Maybe the story of us wasn't over. Or maybe it was just changing chapters. Either way, I wasn't afraid of the ending anymore. Because sometimes, the most priceless reaction isn't shock or regret. It's realization. And that night, as she reached out and gently touched my hand for the first time in months, I realized something too. Love can survive almost anything except taking it for granted.